Hello everyone, my name is Kudzie Mapiye, and on this channel I do videos about my life living here in Australia, and I also share different life lessons that I've learned along the way. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 3 essential things that you need to do in the first 3 days that you're in Australia. Now, this is for all visitors, international students, migrants who are planning to come to Australia, and you want to know what are the 3 essential things that I need to do within the first 3 days. And I think, the first week of being in a new country is so essential because it really allows you that time to set yourself up with the necessary tools, with the necessary things that you need to get by in that country. Now, the very first thing that I would say, and these 3 things that I'm going to talk about are 3 things that I also did or made sure I had within my first week of Australia. Now, if you can do it in the first 3 days, 3 things in 3 days, even better, because by the time the week ends, you are all set up to go and you have a really good chance to navigate the country and just get off on a good foot, on a good footing. And the first thing is an 18 plus card. Now, an 18 plus card is the Australian ID card, proof of age card that shows that you are 18 years or above. And you can also get a photo ID card from the age of 15. If you're not yet 18, just a photo ID that shows who you are, etc. Now, the reason why an 18 plus card is essential is because the only other document that you can use as legal ID in Australia if you're new to the country is your passport. And let me tell you, if you're like me, I got that thing with my life. My passport is a very important document that I don't want to lose, and I surely don't want to be carrying around my passport everywhere you go. Now, if there's anywhere that you go that you need to show your ID or stuff like that, then it's really good to have an alternative card that even if you lose it, it's not a big deal. You can just get another one easily, and that's an 18 plus card. And I remember when I first moved to Australia, everyone had an 18 plus card because, for example, if you're an international student or whatever, if you're just a migrant, you need an 18 plus card to buy alcohol in Australia. So if you're an alcohol drinker, if you go into a liquor store, if you look like you are under the age of 25, and if anyone who works in a liquor store can just ask for a form of ID, and they are looking for you don't want to be using your passport. So an 18 plus card will be great to have in those circumstances. If you have to enter any venues, entertainment venues or whatever, and they need a proof of age card, 18 plus card is perfect for that. And also when you're applying now for other things in Australia, an 18 plus card, when you need those 100 points of identification when you start applying for different things, even like a lease for a house or whatever it is, they need 100 points of identification. An 18 plus card will give you some of those points instead of using your passport. So that is an essential piece of documentation to have. And where you can get it from any Queensland Transport customer service office, and you can just Google it. They're usually, you can Google on the internet what's your nearest one. If you go to the Department of Transport and Main Roads website in Australia, you can just type in your postcode and they'll tell you where is your nearest Department of Transport customer service office. And all you have to do is to walk in with your passport or whatever other form of ID legally that you have, and then they will issue you with an 18 plus card. And you will be set up. Really, you can leave your passport at home in a safe place, and then you have another form of legal ID in Australia. The good thing about an 18 plus card as well is if you are traveling within Australia, you do not need a passport. So if you're flying from Brisbane to Melbourne, if you're flying from Brisbane to Sydney, Melbourne to Sydney. If you're flying within Australia, you do not need a passport. You can just use your 18 plus card to travel. It's only when you are now flying international that you need a passport. So how good is that? If you get your 18 plus card, you can now travel within Australia and all those other things without having to use your passport. So that is essential document number 1, 18 plus card. And then the other thing that you need, number 2, is a tax file number. If you're a student, if you're an international student, you are allowed to work. Is it at 25 hours a week or 25 hours, whatever, you're allowed to work in Australia as part of your visa conditions. If you're a migrant, of course, if you're on a working visa, then you came to work. And so if you need to work in Australia, if you are allowed to work as part of your visa conditions in Australia, then you will definitely need a tax file number. Now, a tax file number is something that you need before you even get paid. So even if you get a job, before they can pay you, they need your tax file number so that they can link your details and your pay to the tax office, so that when you file your tax returns and all that, and the tax office knows how much you're getting taxed and all that jazz. So you really need to get a tax file number before you can get paid any money in Australia. So that is really, really important to do if you are, in your first 3 days of coming into Australia, if you're going to be working. It is very easy to get a tax file number. You don't need to leave your house to get a tax file number. You can just log in online on the Australian Tax Office website and you can apply for your tax file number there using your identification document. So it's really, really good. You will need it if you want to get paid. It is something that is absolutely essential. And while we're still on that money note, another third important document to have or thing to have is a bank card. Everything is now swiping and all that, and you want to be able to pay for things conveniently. You want to have a bank account for your money to come into. You want to have a bank account to store your money. Whether you're working in Australia or you're not working in Australia, it's always good to have that bank account so you don't have to carry cash in your house and worry about losing your money. You can just keep it in the bank, and that is an essential part. In the first 3 days, I remember I opened my first bank account in Australia within the first 3 days of me landing into the country. And I remember I opened with ANZ Bank. Now I'm going to tell you the 4 major banks in Australia that you can open a bank account with. Now there are many other banks in Australia, but these are the 4 big banks. And they are the most common banks. They are the biggest, most established banks in Australia. That is ANZ Bank, Commonwealth Bank, NAB, and the other one is Westpac. And I know I have had accounts in all those 4 major banks in my 16 years in Australia at some point. So, it's a really good starting point if you don't know which bank to bank with in Australia. They're big international banks. So, you can feel safe that you've got a good bank if you have any one of those 4 major banks. So, if you're wondering how do I open a bank account, all that, it's very easy. Just approach those 4 banks. Usually they've got any ATM that you can have, any ATM machine that you come across will usually be compatible with any one of those 4 banks. Sometimes you have to pay a fee, a $2 fee, if it's not a particular ATM for that bank. But still, the main thing is you can access your money, you can swipe, you don't have to worry about carrying cash around. So having a bank account is very, very essential. Now it's, like I said, the first 3 days, it's, people think when you travel, especially if you're coming from a Western country and you're coming to Australia, the jet lag that you are going to experience is going to be major. It's always the case. Whenever you come in from the west to the east, it's always really bad when it comes to jet lag. And I know sometimes you might just want to rest, stay in bed and recover, but it's always good to, get going, get your documentation organized within that first week of landing. And, you can fit in your little micro sleeps in between, but it's really, really important to get set up and that you don't get behind. And that, everything that I need, I have it at my fingertips. And I've got a bonus. Like this is like 3.5. This is a bonus. Something that is also very essential to have is, knowledge of the Translink Journey Planner website. This is if you're coming into Queensland or whatever bus service that you have in whatever state that you're moving into. Go onto the Journey Planner website. It is very, very, very helpful because it helps. All you need to do, like if you're traveling, if you don't have a car yet in Australia, it's very easy to travel using the Journey Planner, and it's online. All you have to go is go on the Translink website if you're in Queensland. Go on if you're in Brisbane, go on the Journey Planner link, and then you type your current address and where you want to go, and then it will calculate your journey for you. It'll tell you how long it's going to take you to travel, what bus you need to get, what stop you need to get, to drop off at, how much it's going to cost you. It really plans your entire trip for you, so you don't have to ask around like, how do I get to this place, how do I get to this place. It tells you how many Ks or how many meters, hundreds of meters you need to walk to get to your actual destination. If you're going for things like job interviews, it's very, very helpful. If you're traveling to uni, if you want to visit different sites, like if you're just coming for tourist purposes, it's very, very handy to know your way around the Translink website, because you want to know how much you're going to be paying for your trip. You want to know how long it's going to take you, most importantly. And you can plan the times that you want to leave or the times you want to arrive at your destination. Like you can say, I need to arrive before 8 a.m. and then it'll plan your trip. Like you need to get this bus at 6 o'clock and then walk this distance and then get another bus. Like it really just plans your trip. It's so handy. With the amount of time I've been in Australia, I still use the Journey Planner whenever I need to use public transport. Even sometimes if I want to go to work and arrive at a certain time, let's say outside of the time I want to arrive, I use the Journey Planner to let me know what time I need to catch the train in order to get to work at a specific time. Like if I want to get to work at 9 a.m, it tells me you need to get the 8:09 train or something like that. And if I change my mind that the other day, if I say I want to get to work at 7:30 a.m, it tells me you need to get the 6 o'clock bus. It really, really makes it handy to plan your trips and to arrive on time, which is something that is very important to me, is being on time. So, planning your journey, knowing that you're going to get there on time. And sometimes if I'm using public transport to a place that I've never been to before, it's always good to use the Journey Planner, because it tells you how you're going to travel, and it tells you, the shortest way. It gives you different options. It usually gives you 3 different options, the longest route, the cheapest route, whatever it is. So it's really, really convenient. So, get set up, make sure that, if you're visiting Australia, the 3.5 essential things that you need to get in order for you to get by. If you've got people visiting you in Australia, the other thing is, in Australia, a lot of people are working all the time. People are going to work, they're going to school, they're doing all these other activities. And if you have a visitor at home, even if you've taken time off, there might be sometimes you need to go into work or school or whatever, and you want that person to be able to get by on their own. You don't want to be their chauffeur everywhere, driving them to this point and that point. And they need to get a little sense of independence as well, and to explore the country on their own. And that's the beauty of Australia. You can explore the country on your own. It's pretty safe, pretty convenient to travel. So if you've got a visitor, if you've got someone visiting you from another country, or a friend, family member, partner, whatever, just give them the Journey Planner website. Just say, go on this website, plan your journey. If you want to go into the city, if you want to go and see a few sites, they don't need to own a car. They can get back home. They know what time they're going to arrive back home through that journey planning website. So it's really, really handy to have. And I always think in order to enjoy the country fully, you need to experience it and you need to travel by yourself, especially using public transport. And I found that like I drive, but I also use public transport. I know my way around like the Brisbane city. I know almost every single corner of the Brisbane city because I have traveled like with public transport, and that's the best way to get to know the city, because sometimes when you're driving, you're just like going to your destination, you're going like straight to your destination. But with the bus, it takes you around a little bit, so you really get to see the city, you really get a feel of the city. And it's something that really helped to build my confidence when I was first in Australia, being able to get around on my own. I could really like go to work on my own, and I felt confident that I could get around, like I wasn't stuck in the house. I knew that even if I want to go somewhere, I can just type in where I want to go and then just go over there with public transport and come back home safely. So yeah, I hope you found those tips helpful, that you can set yourself up, get your 18 plus card, get a bank card, get your tax file number, and get acquainted with the TransLink website or whatever bus service website that you're using in that state, and you're sure to be set up to go within the first week of arriving in the country, which is really, really important. You want to be on the front foot. You want to make sure that you're resettling in Australia, even for a short time, whether you're a visitor, you're here for a few weeks, or you're here for a few years. You want to really be set up first thing when you get here. All right, guys, I will see you in my next video.